make sure you subscribe. Click that little bell icon to be notified of upcoming videos. Support us on Patreon. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at Model Railroad Techniques. Please have a look at my new website, www.modelrailroadtechniques.com. Hi guys, Darren from MRT here. A new little segment on the channel here for a tool of the week. So this week we're going to look at Brunel Hobbies Corrugated Iron Maker. So without further ado, let's go and have a look. Okay guys, I just want to make it clear regarding this video. This is not a paid advertisement. It's just a new piece of kit that I've got in my toolbox that I wanted to let all you guys and girls know about. So here's the little jig here. So it measures 5.5 centimeters by 6.3. It's made out of a perspex type material. You see on the bottom there, it's got a little bit that's written HO. So that's like the other half to mold your corrugated iron. The size of the sheets that it makes is 3 feet by 9 feet. And in metric terms, that's 91 centimeters by 2.7 in scale measurements. They do offer a second version in HO, which is a larger sheet. They don't have the specifications on their website what that actually is, but just looking at the photo and how it is compared to the other one, I wouldn't mind betting it seems to be same length sheet, but probably 120 centimeters wider. They do offer it in different scales, NG, S, O scale, 1 to 35 and 1 to 72 scales on their website. So how do you use this little jig? The aluminium foil there. So that measures, so the sheets we're going to be cutting off is about 1.1 centimeters or 0.4 of an inch, which is also then 3.5 centimeters long or 1.3 inches or 1 1/3. So you can see I'm sort of measuring it up there to get the rough length. So you basically want to make the alfoil a little bit wider than the actual jig itself. Now, the alfoil to use, you need to try to find the thickest caterer's blend you can get. So the thin stuff you get from the shopping centre is just not thick enough, and you actually just end up tearing it in half or going through with the jig. So the thicker the better. So the brand I use, if you're living in Australia, is Jumbuck brand, which is, I buy it from Bunnings hardware stores, but I'm sure there's other versions throughout the world. So once you've got your correct width and your length, obviously just mark it up and pull it off, or cut it off with a metal ruler. Now, obviously use a brand new blade for this, as you'll just end up tearing it. That one's gone through first cut, but some of them it's best to give it a few passes to let it go through to make a nice cut. So it almost puts a serrated edge on it, which is very hard to flatten back out. Okay, so this next bit, you can see me flattening it out there. So what you try to do, you try to get the alfoil as flat as you can, particularly around the edges where you've cut it. Now we put it onto the jigs. Now this little bit gets a little bit fiddly, and I do try different things here. So you got to try to square it up the best you can, and then it's just a matter of passing the little tag there through, and you can see how the valleys and the flutes will go on the corrugated iron. So you just got to be a little bit careful because it does fold up a little bit at this point in time, and if it does lift off, you got to try to square it back up and get it back onto the correct orientation of the corrugated iron, I should say. So this one here, I flip around and I sort of miss the alignment just slightly. You can see how I've put the tag in there. So what I probably suggest you do is you make them probably a centimetre longer than they need to be, and then you can actually got something to hold on to. It's a little bit easier then to pull the jig through. This next one here, I line up, and you can see I've got a little piece of sellotape there. So what I do is I just tape just the end of it, and that does hold it, but lifting it up and down, you do have to regularly change that tape. So I think now looking back at this footage and the other ones I've made since for an upcoming video, I think it's just easier making that sheet probably a centimetre longer than it needs to be. It gives you something just a little bit easier to hold on to while you're pulling the jig through to make the corrugated iron. Okay, sorry about the glare there with the corrugated iron sheets. Now, what I've done for my little project that in the upcoming video is about 14 or 15 sheets, so I always make sure that I do a few extra. So what I'm doing there is it's just trimming the excess off. So you can see on the side there, if you don't cut it properly, it's just a slight corrugation. So I just get a pair of scissors, or you can do it with a sharp knife, and you just cut them off. And it also gives you the opportunity to make them nice and flat again, because they do start to curl up a little bit. So there's various ways you can do it. I tried it with a knife, but I thought a nice pair of sharp scissors did the trick. to cut off all the flashings at the edge to make a nice sheet. So at this point, this is pretty well the end of the process for making the actual sheets. You can see I'm just running it through my fingers. I'm just trying to get it nice or keep it nice and flat. So I'll probably do this like at least 3 times, because just after this point is when I put it on my spraying jig to give them an undercoat of primer before I start weathering them up. So the purpose of this part of this video, this is how I actually spray them up or get them ready for priming. So that's just stole my wife's chopping board from the kitchen, wrapped it in some butcher's paper and double-sided tape. So it's just me placing them out there. It sort of gives you an idea of the texture on the corrugated iron sheet. It's a little bit out of center there because I was doing it upside down on the video, so it made it a little bit difficult. So apologies for that, but sort of gives you some sort of idea. So to let you know, probably 15 sheets took me maybe half an hour to do, and that was the first batch that I did. So as you do it and get more practice, like anything, you will get quicker. Now, probably the best advice is to make sure the sheets are probably at least 1 centimetre longer than you need to be. It just makes it a lot easier on the jig. So the last probably half a dozen I did or so, that's what I did, and they're a breeze. You just run the jig through the aluminium sheet, just light passes, 2 or 3 passes, and it comes up really nicely. So on the whole, I think it's a great little piece of kit. It's about $15 Australian before postage. So yeah, I really enjoy using the tool. There's an upcoming video on how I put it on a roof and weather it all up, but this is sort of the first process of it. So that's just a little picture that's popped up there from the upcoming video. So that's after 2 passes with the rust wash before I get into it with the pastels and really start weathering up. So as you can see, I reckon it looks quite nice and quite effective. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Make sure you subscribe, click that little bell icon to be notified of upcoming videos. Support us on Patreon, like us on Facebook and Instagram at Model Railroad Techniques. Please have a look at my new website, www.modelrailroadtechniques.com.